Hi, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. We've had better days. Last night was no fun. I guess my intestinal problems got the best of me, but let's take a look at where things are now. Current blood sugar is at 8.8, fully calibrated. My body was demanding corrections all night. Those are those blue lines here. The bottle of insulin was when I gave insulin at 8 o'clock this morning. Last night, I dipped down to 3.7. And I hung out there for a moment and started to come back up. So, if you take a look at time in range, doesn't look as bad. 93% time in range, which is pretty damn good. Remember, we're aiming for 70. Above was 6%. That was basically last night. But I was down around 3.7 for 1% of last night, or for all day yesterday. Blood sugar is coming back into the average sugar. It's coming back into line at 7.7. So I don't think I'm heading into DKA. But last night there was vomiting. The other side was active as well. But I don't know what was going on. So, who knows? Today, I want to talk to you about just following the rules. It's a little bit of a history lesson. We'll be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. Okay, sorry, I'm discombobulated today. When I was diagnosed back in 1977, you were given rules that was engraved into granite. It was almost like Moses had a third tablet coming down the mountain. And if a diabetic broke any of those rules, it was like, oh my God, this person's gonna die. This person's gonna lose their eyesight. This person is gonna lose their leg, for one blood sugar. And how do you think people like that felt when they're trying to control their blood sugar, yet they're not getting anywhere? I was told, well, just follow the rules and you'll be the perfect diabetic. Yeah, right. Didn't work. And even today, if I go into the hospital for whatever, whether it be day treatment or, a longer stay, it's still, well, that's not how we do it now, is it, Michael? It's kind of like, well, that's what my endocrinologist told me. I'm a firm believer in, if you think it's going to work, your endocrinologist thinks it's going to work, then by all means give it a try. But just don't go out and do things just for the sake of it. It's not worth it. So, what to do? Now, granted, when I was diagnosed, this is 47 years ago, things were quite different. I've heard it referred to as the dark ages of diabetic care. And it's not a good time. I brought this up many times, you had to urinate. There was no blood sugar. You had to do it twice. You had to eat certain foods at certain times. It was all drawn up by a dietitian, and there was no swapping of this. Oh, well, yeah, I would like an extra meat. You couldn't do that. You had to take your insulin at the prescribed time: breakfast, lunch, dinner, bed. And then bed kind of got wishy-washy that you really shouldn't be doing it. Should be taking insulin before you go to sleep. But what in the world were we doing? Where we are now with different courses of action. We count carbs for meals now. And granted, carbs aren't always the greatest, but we count the carbs. We don't have to do a urine test. We don't have to void twice. And then do this all before your meal, and then give your shot 15 minutes. To eat right, you had to plan, and we're getting so precise that people would spend all day Sunday cooking for the week and coming up with how much you could have. And if you ran into problems with your blood sugar, it was you're cheating. There was no, I'm not doing anything. There was an awful lot more of that with diabetics beforehand. I don't know why my blood sugar went up. Or when they went to go see their endocrinologist, it was, well, I did everything you told me, but it doesn't always work. I think endocrinologists have heard it all before. If something isn't working, you need to find a solution. And you need to have a chat with your endo, but we'll do a whole other video on that. You need to do as much as you can to ensure your diabetes goes smoothly. If you're traveling, know how to eat, how to take your insulin. Make sure you have enough supplies on hand. There is so much that as diabetics we have issues with. Now, when I was diagnosed, the treatment plan, you had to go through diabetic training, which I, by the way, think is an excellent idea. However, when I went through, you always seemed to be put with other diabetics who weren't type 1s. It was always type 2s, and then they would always pull aside and say, with type 1, no, Mike, you don't do this, you do that. And it was kind of like, what was the friggin' point? I still believe that if you're going to do a class for new diabetic, there needs to be a type 1 class and a type 2 class. There are some similarities, but don't keep going out, oh, well, you don't even fit in with the diabetics. I would have loved to have had more training than the Duotang book. But back then, that was sort of the best. There was diabetic training in the main hospital. I went through Health Center for Children, which was Vancouver General. But there was training, and you went through your training and everything was fine, but you had to walk a whole block in these underground caverns to the main part of the hospital. And again, it was, oh yeah, but that's type 2. Well, we're going to discuss type 2. And then, like I said before, kind of we'll fit you in wherever possible. No, I don't think so. Why do we have to constantly go through training like that? Now, or what I've experienced, it's been years since I've had a type 1 class. Any sort of education or training I do over the phone with my diabetic nurse. But before that, it was isolated training. And with that training, we talk about type 1 issues. And I can bring up anything. And that's what you should be willing to do, is talk about anything with your diabetic nurse. And you'll get so much more. A lot of people don't like going to education because my doctor told me this back in 1980. They told me, excuse me, sorry, just had a sneezing fit all of a sudden. But my doctor told me this back in 1980, and that's sort of like the way I'm going to keep it. But you have to learn. You have to now, the main goal is to keep your blood sugars as close to possible. And whatever it means to do it, great. I was once on shots. Now I'm on a pump. And believe me, the pump has got a lot better solutions than what we currently have been doing. So, believe in education. Talk to your doctor, talk to your diabetic nurse if you're having any issues. They're actually here to help. The old philosophy, well, don't tell your doctor you're having problems. You'll get out of there quicker. That's idiotic. If you're having problems trying to control your blood sugar, your endocrinologist should be one of the first to know. That and your diabetic nurse. Those two together will come up with better ideas for you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. I hope this brought some vision in how we got to what we do now and how you can benefit from it. We'll be doing a video in the near future about when you go see your endocrinologist. And with that, have a super day, and we'll talk later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.